Good morning, is it from Zester's Lab. Just came home from town. Had to take Charlie Chaplin, the Boston puppy, to the vet for the 4-month checkup. And as I was driving into town, I was thinking. That can be dangerous. But yesterday I ran into a little bit of a challenge. I finished my second little bag. I'm not sure presently how to fasten it, so I'm just putting it aside. So I thought, let me make another little intuitive bag or whatever. I'm not ready for a big project yet. Remember, I showed you my beautiful cloth yesterday, and I've looked and I see exactly what I want to do for a big bag, but I don't feel like a big project yet. So I was really just wanting to sit and just sew. Intuitively, mindfully, call it whatever you want, and guess what? I took out my scraps, had them all there, was sitting in front of my TV, and I was starting to put them together. That was my first mistake. You know, we lose our freedom of intuitive just creating. I am here not talking about when you decide I'm going to create a dress. I've got my pattern, I've got my cloth, so now I'm just going to go step by step, do whatever the pattern tells me to do. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about playing, intuitively just doing what you feel like doing. And I really felt like it's another just slow stitching, just putting different cloths together and just going with the flow. But my thing was, I started planning. So I was looking at all my stuff. I had my big piece. As I said, I usually use a bigger piece as my bottom part. And I started to go through my stuff and assemble my thing. Put this piece with that piece and trying to figure it out, and at the end I said, I don't know how this is gonna work. So I lost interest because I was working towards the end product instead of just starting. So that's what I'm trying to get to tell you. I can only share my journey, and my journey has always been overthinking. I overthink to an extent that I don't do things because I overthink too much. And that is what I did yesterday. I didn't sit and do a beautiful, wonderful slow stitching project that would have brought me so much joy because once again I wanted to plan and I was overthinking and it became too much for me. So I just left it. So this is what I want to share and just talk about today. You know, the life in us is free. It just flows freely. But we stifle it and stop it and kill it, as to speak, like I did yesterday, by overthinking. And another thing, I've got this beautiful piece, this old thing that I bought, you know, Now I feel too sad to cut it. Ridiculous, because what if I want to use this later in life, what if I want to use it for something else? What if I need the big piece? You know what? I don't need the big piece now. I now need little pieces of this beautiful cloth to use in my slow stitching projects. So once again, I am living in the so-called future of, but what if? Use what you have now to create what you want to create. Now our houses are filled with stuff and things that we want to keep for a better time. The time is now. It's always now. So why not create and use what you have now to follow your excitement and your bliss and your joy? So this is it. I've now cut a piece off, tore a piece off. Voila. I did it. Nothing happened, And now I have the freedom to use this beautiful cloth in my slow stitching because I love it so much. But first of all, yesterday, as I said, I was overthinking. Then I was, but what if? And no, that's when I realized, and that's what I want to share. Use what you have now to create what the life in you, your excitement, is telling you to create. And what I've learned during the last couple of months really is to just go with the flow of the life in you and follow your excitement. So my excitement is this piece. So I've now tore a piece off. So how do you start an intuitive project? And that is what I didn't do yesterday. Yesterday, instead of just starting, going with the flow, I wanted to plan and worked from the end project to the starting point. And then I've lost my excitement and my joy in the process. So today I just want to show you and me how to just do it. So I am now having this piece. What in this stash of mine? And this is not only about, you can see this is nice and thick. This, and I love the fraying, so that's why I do it. I don't want to cut it because I love the fraying bit. So I'm not talking only about slow stitching. I am talking about art, about drawing, about painting, about anything. If you just want to go with the flow of what the life in you is leading you to do, you just do it step by step. There's now a little bit of okay, now that is not working. There's some stitchings there that but why do I want to get it off? Really, why? Use it in my thing. So once again, I think I am going with a piece at the bottom. I like it when there's a piece at the bottom. And then I just, how am I going to do it? I'm just going to go for it. As I said, this is my favorite. This is Charlie Chaplin. Look how big he has become. Look at the ears. The ears are now all over the place. He is such a little joy, bringing me so much joy. So what in So you've got your, let's go back to slow stitching. So you've got your little pieces of cloth. And now you just feel like playing, you know. Not on the overthinking, just playing. So I look in my stash, and what makes me the most excited? This one. So I am just putting it on my base. If you don't want to have a base, like this piece of cotton thing, linen cotton blend, you don't need one. So one piece. Now let's find another piece. So what makes you excited in your stash? And I am just randomly going to put it on top there. So usually, now that is what I didn't do yesterday. Yesterday I was now overthinking, and now I wanted to finish it. You see, and I realized, no. Just do one step at a time. So for this one, I'm once again going to go with use what you have. I'm not going to overthink. I am just taking a green now, and I am just going to start working this on. I even don't pin it. You know, you can pin it. I also love it. I make a little knot, and then I just start working. So there, I've put it on. Now I am really just going to work. And I am not worrying about the stitch. I'm just doing an ordinary loose stitch. And this time actually my pieces are a little bit bigger. But as I say, one step leads to the next. So my first step was finding my first piece of cloth that makes me come alive. And I've just put it on my thing. Then my second step was putting my second piece on, not thinking, just randomly putting them on and starting to work. Now the awesome thing is, one thing will lead to the next thing. So don't think, just do, just sit, just play. And now, you see, now I'm trying to explain to you, so I am just rushing ahead. But I love this too. So I am just tearing another piece off, and now I am just, sorry man, you are struggling to see, but it's not even really about you seeing, it's just about doing it. So there, I am just putting another piece there. So now there's a little opening. Now I think, oh man, what am I gonna do? And I look through my stash and I see the piece of this pink, and I put it there, and I thought, oh, it can be a little bit bright. Let's find something else. There's more black and white. Jelly plate prints. There's some pink color. So you see, now I can feel it. I am going the plainer route, not the all over the place craziness route, like my first little bag. But once again, a a little piece of my denim jean that I've realized. You see, as you go, you realize what you like and you don't like. I actually enjoy more of the square. I don't like random shapes. I like square, like rectangle, and that is how I go. But the awesome thing is, let me show you, I don't have my other little bag. But as soon as you start to work on it, over it, it changes. It becomes something so beautiful. But you're not going to know what it is going to become when you start. And that's the whole thing. And you need to make peace with not knowing and just keep going. You know, look at that. So I am just sitting here looking through all my stuff and just one step at a time. So this is the awesome thing about any intuitive process. You can do anything, but remember, it's step by step, and you don't know the end result, and you're okay with it. And isn't that exactly life? We have no idea how our life is going to turn out. But oh no, we plan and we plan a 5-year plan, 10 rand, 10 rand, 10-year plan and whatever, and then it doesn't work out and you become depressed and angry and resentful. And because we had the plan, the finished plan, but we're only here. And now our things doesn't work out and we become upset and resentful and angry, and there goes our peace and joy of not following the life in us, the spirit in us, even when we do these things. Never mind life. That's why I said I never experienced lots of joy with my creativity things when I was overthinking. So these last couple of months, I am really, look, there it's coming, you see? It's one thing after the next. And now with the stitching and little pieces here and there, the whole thing unfolds until it becomes something way beyond your imagination. And that is the joy. And that is what intuitive creativity is all about, teaching us to go with the flow, to relax, to just know that everything is going to unfold beautifully, and to stop worrying. It was so funny. I was working in my gratitude journal also yesterday, and now it's down at the bottom, so I cannot show you. But I was busy with black acrylic paint, smearing them with my palette knife, and then I said, oh, this looks terrible. And then I was gluing a piece of cloth next to it, and I messed onto the cloth, and it seemed like a big mess. And I was starting to get upset. And then I looked at it and I thought, no, this is just a stepping stone. Just relax. Just see how it's gonna unfold. So I was sitting there looking at my stuff, decided I'm gonna pull off the piece of white that I glued on, and that made beautiful marks when I pulled it off. And then it was still a little bit messy, and I went through backwards to my previous page that I did, and there was just a piece of yarn that I glued on there, pieces of yarn. And I thought, you know what? Take some of them and bend them over until the next page. And when I did that, the one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Have you seen that movie? I mean, I've seen that most probably 40 years ago, and I still remember the craziness. As I say, it just popped up. And I was busy with this beautiful yarn, and I was just gluing it onto my mess that I made. And all of a sudden, the whole thing came together, and it was just stunning. And once again, intuitive creating. There is nothing wrong, let me tell you, with planning. But sometimes you got to let go and allow the life in you to start showing you the way into joy. Let me tell you, that's where it leads. When you start intuitive, when you start to play again like a child, it's not about the end result. It's about doing. It's about the moment. It's about the joy that you get while you are doing it, you know. And everything, as I said, my one little bag is now also not here, the first one I made. That was my first little step. And then I made this bag, and I am growing. And now I'm busy with a third project. And it's just naturally, listen, naturally unfolding into something that I haven't even dreamed about. You know, isn't that exciting? You know, it's great when some stuff in your life turns out as planned, but that very rarely happens. But what about the rest? We got to start to enjoy the process of living, moment by moment, of finding our peace and joy in this moment, of starting to enjoy the unfolding of what is happening. And that is why creative, intuitive, mindful creating is such an amazing tool. It makes you free. You know, we're sent into this realm, call it whatever you want, to be free and to fall in love with life. But the life can only be found in us. The life is in us. It's abundant, but we miss it because we listen to our minds the whole time, and it's planning, and when things doesn't turn out, we're angry, and life becomes this huge struggle. That's what I experienced yesterday with my project. It became a huge struggle because I skipped all the things and I wanted to get to the end, knowing how it's going to be and trying to figure it out instead of just enjoying each little step and see where it unfolds and where it's going. And in that, we experience freedom. And that's why I say we're never too old to learn this. But this is life changing. This idea of just moment by moment, just going with the flow of what the life in you is showing you. And that is how we experience the abundance life has for us. It's available for us. It's inside of us. But that's why that whole thing about gratitude for what you have comes in. No, we're not grateful for what the little things we have. We are only focusing and thinking about the things that we don't have. And that makes us totally resentful and angry and, blame shifting. Instead of using whatever you have been given and start with that. You know, I can sit here and be, oh, but I actually need red that looks like this, or I actually need things that I don't have, and ignore, look at my cupboard in the back, whatever, all the stuff that I do have, because I believe I need something that I don't have, and that messes up my whole project, my whole day. Instead of learning and be grateful for what we do have, and just start with the first step and realize that is going to lead us to the next step. And that is how we grow and how we unfold and how we are starting, learning to really appreciate and enjoy this moment and this process. You know, when you do this and you're really in the moment and you are really just locked in what you do have, and step by step, there comes an excitement and just a peace and a joy of just a thankfulness about just being alive. And this is just a thing that I do, you know, a thing that we do with our hands and whatever, but this goes over into our life. This is our life. If I find peace and joy and my life, really my life in me, it's peace and joy and power and wisdom and everything, when I find that and that starts to move while I'm doing it, this spills over into my everyday life. And that is how magic happens and how we change our lives into something beautiful. It starts with the little things. It starts with do what you can, use what you have to create peace, joy, patience, love, and that spills into going to sweep the floor, going into town, making food, having a meeting with a client, whatever. And that's how we change our life. It seems stupid to think it can all start with a little bit of intuitive slow stitching, you know, or gardening, or painting. But that's how it starts. Find those things that makes you come alive and feel alive, and learn to walk during your day mindfully, one step at a time. Don't rush ahead. Don't follow your mind into wanting to know the finished project and wanting to, know what's going to come next. You will know what comes next when you're busy with this little piece. You will, as I said, look, I was sitting here not thinking, and I was just putting things down and just looking and just enjoying. And that is how we create a beautiful life. You know? So look at this little piece. This was also a piece of linen that I had many moons ago. So can you imagine? It looks like nothing, but start to work your stitches and your coloring and your little pieces in, and that becomes a masterpiece, like your life. But how do we create a beautiful life? Step by step, moment by moment. And we got to learn to find our peace. Everybody wants peace on earth, but you can only experience peace on earth when you find the peace that's already in you and you allow it to start flowing through you and out of you, you know? And so you will know what you need to do to allow your peace to start moving. It's going to be different than mine. But the idea is going to be exactly the same. You just start. Use what you have and just start. And that will lead to the next. And in your absolute peacefulness, look there, just that little small piece there makes me excited. So can you imagine now, just, you see? Love you lots. Is it from Sister's Lab? Thank you that I can share my journey. Thank you for all the new subscribers. But to me, it's about sharing my journey and sharing my love, because we're one life, you know? And if I can do it, you can do it. And I always made life so impossible. We make it so impossible to live because we live in our minds, in the vain imagination of the future, of how our lives are supposed to unfold. Oh, and our kids' lives, and our husband, and the government, you know, and it doesn't happen, so then we're upset. Instead of your life, your peace, your responsibility. Start with what you have, where you have been placed, in whatever situation it may be, and find something, no matter how small, that makes you glad that you are alive. Start with that little block and add another little block. And at the end, you get a beautiful, beautiful thing, life, uniquely you. You look back. I look back on this and I thought, oh, that's how it started, with that. And I added that, and isn't it gorgeous and beautiful? And yes, when I added that one, it didn't fit, and I was, you know, but I thought, just keep going and add something else, and another day, another thing. And at the end, voila, that's your life at the end. But when you're still there, you're not going to know how it's going to end. You have absolutely no idea. So make peace with not knowing. Make peace with just learning to go with the flow. Use what you have. Find your peace and joy in using that and doing it. Minute by minute, day by day, and at the end of the day you'll think, oh my goodness, what an awesome day I had. And it all starts with just 2 little blocks, doing one little thing, using what you have, and that will lead to the next and the next, and that you create a peaceful moment, a peaceful half an hour doing this, and then that peace will go into me having lunch with my husband, and that will go into going to weed my garden, and at the end I have a peaceful day. Love you lots. Is it from Sister's Lab?